I mentioned earlier, Loki's too strong. He's too strong to be a Nakama, guys. I'm sorry. This is a Luffy rival, and right now, you wouldn't be crazy if you thought this dude was stronger than Luffy. Straight up. I'm real.
Listen, man, I love the Loki upscale. I truly do. It's just that he defeated Harold. Harold's not using any Conqueror's Haki to do so. Shanks and Gaban were fighting him with Conqueror's Haki, and they still couldn't overcome him together.
I was talking about Loki being a top tier earlier, but like he seemingly dog walked Harold. What I'm seeing here, I don't see Harold landing at all on Loki. Loki is taking 0 damage over here. And Harold getting tossed around, losing limbs, regenerating, getting pushed to the ground, et cetera, et cetera. And then Harold's understanding the blood of the Supreme King is possessed within you. I thought that was interesting because we've talked about Harold being an absentee father. He didn't know Loki was a Conqueror's Haki user this whole time, apparently. Kind of wild, but who knows when he unlocked that. And then I was going to ask you guys how y'all thought about this. Do y'all think Loki beat Harold out of the Covenant's control? Because that's a whole other level of like, yo, I'm really strong, guys. Like, I'm capable of knocking you out of the control of the Covenant to a degree that a combined Gaban and Shanks were not capable of. So I know he's buffed with the hammer and this devil fruit and his own Haki, but listen, Loki's stocks are higher than I've probably seen for anybody in a long time, man. I ain't gonna lie. I was surprised to see Shanks and Gaban kind of decommissioned for this. I know we talked about like people get stronger after moments, and we talked about Shanks and Loki. Apparently he captures him later on, but the gap between them right now is drastic, in my opinion. And Shanks must look at this as a, yo, I need to get much stronger to be able to compete at the highest level, which is great. I think that really works for Shanks' character. I hope we see Shanks versus Loki. I hope we continue to that. I don't know that we will. I don't know how we will within the realm of this flashback, but I would love to see that. But I don't know, the attack itself, we talk about Del Fruits and Haki all the time, and like this is an amalgamation of top tier Haki and a top tier Del Fruit, and I guess a top tier weapon and a top tier race being put together into one attack. And we see the results. This is critical mass. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is that.
Not really.
Or at the minimum, it's producing the same level or higher even.
I got an argument against it.
You think so? Okay.
No, not really. I think everybody's looking at it too surface level.
Okay. I will say Harold isn't, I mean, we don't know if it came back just beforehand, but he isn't defending with Conqueror's Haki here in a way that Rox was. So, but this attack looks crazy. I think at the minimum, to me, it's still comparable. If you have a way to prove that false, I'd love to hear it. But I'm wondering how many people could replicate this kind of an attack in the series, honestly. And I love that because I mentioned earlier, Loki's too strong. He's too strong to be a Nakama, guys. I'm sorry. This is a Luffy rival, and right now, you wouldn't be crazy if you thought this dude was stronger than Luffy. Straight up. I'm real.
It's crazy. No. He's definitely not stronger than Luffy.
Hey, man. I'm willing to have those conversations.
I think you're really riding the wave.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe, bro.
Not realizing like you're still in a 3-foot pool.
Bro. The thing is, you know what I mean? I think Loki gets stronger than this.
I hope he does.
So I'm like, hey, man. Granted, this attack might not even hurt Luffy for real, because, I mean, it's Haki attached, but it's lightning based, so it's not a great versus Luffy scale or whatever. But to me, Luffy doesn't have too many attacks that are as powerful as this.
No, I agree with Sebastian. Harold does this attack first. He, like, charges at Loki, show me the legendary power of the ability. And I don't know if he lands or misses or what's happening here. I don't know if he cuts something. I'm not sure what that is. Oda drew that panel very, very vague. But we do, like you said, we see Loki when he's out of his transformation. He seems to have no marks or scars or any bleeding, and he's fine. There's no marks on him. It could be a prolonged fight, but like to me, like I said, I saw him overpower Harold very easily. To me, if you go by the end, it looks like he did it in like 2 hits. It looked like 2 hits knocked Harold out of his controlled state. Physically, obviously, he's still there because he's regenerating, but it knocked back the control of the mind. That Harold's able to stand there now and let this happen. Because we all said that before, even if Harold wanted to, he couldn't stop his body. Harold couldn't legit not stop his body from attacking anybody or anything. He had to like tie me down here. Loki was able to knock Harold out of even that state where Harold could just stand there and not attack through being controlled by Emu's influence or whatever. To me, that shows how strong this ability is that Loki assumed with himself right now. That in like a few hits, it was able to do that much damage. That goes into what I was saying before, where physical strength still matters to a certain extent. I believe this is kind of proof of it, that Haki, it is the core thing. But also to support your Haki, you need physical ability. That's not just a lower tier level. Even at this grand stage, they're showing a physical strength to it to support themselves in their Haki growth. So I don't believe it's just their Haki growing. I think it's their physical strength and body as well. Because you said that your body has to catch up to your ability. Because even the strain that Haki puts on yourself, you have to have a strong physical body to support that Haki because the strain it has on you, and also abilities-wise, the strain it has on you. So you need all this to use all these together. It's going to make you stronger physically as well as using Haki with this physical. We see Ragnir is this heavy, hard thing. We got Danchin Zhao's head. They called it the hardest substance on Earth or whatever. And how did Garp overpower it? It's showing this hardness and strength is a thing. Like density is a strength. When you add that to something hard, because even Luffy's ability, yes, it's Haki, but he's also inflating his size and muscles in conjunction with his Haki, given his overpower, and then even so with his awakened ability in Nika. So to me, I'm sure that there's a physical strength that's needed to support the Haki usage as well, because your body has to be strong enough to support his Haki. So the fact that Loki was able to do this to Harold as his his power, because also too, Harold even mentions to even get Ragnir, he believes that he had the strength now to possess it by being controlled by Emu, viewing himself getting to think that he's a god. So Harold even recognized, for me to get Ragnir and that fruit, I have to be at least this level of strength.
All right, so to combat everything you guys are saying in a healthy way, we see Harold, he has had the same type of mindset, where the mindset is being influenced by somebody else who is Emu, and he's very direct, he's very forthcoming, he's very aggressive. He's literally taking a sword out of a man that was his royal guard because he just murked him, and he looks at Loki and he says, "So, you ate it, Loki. Then show me that legendary devil fruit," while he's slicing up other people. So once Loki joins the fight, and please, everybody, please keep an open mind. I know how combative you could be with this. When he starts fighting Loki, if you notice, as soon as he gets hit, the arm that has the brand is gone. So what happens? He doesn't get a shot on Loki for the rest of the fight, which means once Loki starts charging up his Color of the Supreme King into his hammer, that's the only time Loki ever used Conqueror's Haki during his fight with his father. That's why Harold standing there. He's not attacking because he's gained control. He's like, "I knew it. Loki, you possess the blood of the Supreme King." And then Loki stops and he goes, "Oh, you're back to your senses." And then all of a sudden they're having this conversation, and then Harold gives him some insight because now his thoughts have concluded, and he's like, "Okay, but I'm grateful that you're doing this now." And then in that little panel, why would Oda show us the brand? And the brand is starting to regenerate. And then in a very next panel, Harold looks eviler, and he goes, "Hurry now before the control takes over again."
I mean, yeah, listen, I didn't peep that.
So
I definitely didn't peep that.
There's definitely an occurrence where if the brand gets damaged, it might give some control back to the user, and their will is less likely to be affected. And I know a lot of people are going to disagree because you're very much on the Loki upscale wave, and I don't blame you. This is what Oda's goal is supposed to do, but I don't think Oda would directly show us something so consecutive and have that type of meaning. Because Loki should be struggling, but he's not. And he's not using Conqueror's Haki, except for one time, and he was about to use it until Harold pointed it out that he has it. Now, I know a lot of people are not going to like this either, and that's okay. You know, I've said this before and nobody's liked it. But Harold is not using Conqueror's Haki the same way he was using it against rocks. He just isn't. He hasn't used it one time. Advanced Conqueror's coding is the addition of outward emission of armament, and then it's infused with Conqueror's Haki, creating a space for people to just hit you without touching you. This happens all the time. And the fact is, we don't see that at all throughout the entire fight, and that's why. And it's because of the theory I've mentioned before. I don't think when your will is being affected by Emu, you're allowed to utilize your Haki in the correct way. And this is why he's getting landed on by Shanks and by Gibbon, where we know Rox is much stronger than both of them because he was capable of competing with Harold at that level. And Harold never let his leg get cut off. They would clash. So this is the thing, right? Gibbon does mention that he does have Conqueror's Haki, so it makes it very hard to bring him out of this. But that was also said with Garp and Roger against Rox. But it's the same thing I mentioned before. His Haki is probably just leaking out the same way Rox's was. But it's not being able to be utilized in order to fully protect himself by attacking back. So his strongest defense is sometimes his offense. If he's not capable of using his offense, his defense is usually weaker. So you're basically just trying to overcome this person and their basic Conqueror's Haki that's leaking out. So this is why Loki's able to land such a shot on him, because now, since the brand hasn't fully recovered, he took off his Conqueror's Haki. It's no longer leaking. So Loki just lands the shot on him and takes him out easily. It's like getting blind hit in football when you're running a close route and you don't see the person. Listen, man, I love the Loki upscale. I truly do. It's just that he defeated Harold. Harold's not using any Conqueror's Haki to do so. Shanks and Gaban were fighting him with Conqueror's Haki, and they still couldn't overcome him together, even though Gaban knew how to beat these guys. Rox himself is stronger than Gaban, because at this point, Gaban is, in Lawrence's mind, had to know some type of critical mass Supreme King Haki, yet he couldn't do anything to Harold with Shanks on standby, or just joining the fight. I think that everybody's looking at this as a big hype for Loki, and I agree, it is a hype. I don't think if Harold took Ragnir and ate the devil fruit, he was ever going to be top 1. Reason being, because of the brand. If he lost the brand, then I would say yeah. And again, this is where it comes into the physical aspect of like Domi Reversi and the Covenants giving you these strength-based amplifications. I don't agree, because Haki is always going to reign supreme. So, for example, we have Joy Boy. Joy Boy doesn't look like a strong guy. He doesn't have muscle upon muscle. We don't know how big he is. And Luffy, at the end of the day, when he goes and becomes the greatest thing ever, he's still just a 5'8" person who weighs 140. So he needs to have the Haki in order to do that. Joy Boy had the Haki to knock out the Covenants by himself without using any of his physical strength. So I don't think that the physical aspects of you are supposed to be as top tier as your Haki is. Now, I do agree with Lawrence saying that you do need to train your body in order to have Haki, because Whitebeard, at his deteriorating strength and health, wasn't able to utilize some of his Haki because he just couldn't, because he wasn't healthy. So I agree, you do have to have some type of strength, but you don't need to be Loki big. You don't need to be Emu big. You don't need to be any of that. You don't even need to grab the hammer. Your Haki just needs to be enough, and that's why even somebody like Harold, using the Haki that he had, couldn't overcome Rox, as small as he was. That's why Rox was the captain and Whitebeard wasn't, or Big Mom, or any of the other bigger figures was. They just couldn't topple him because of his Haki. So I think when you add into that aspect, Loki is strong, but he's not stronger than Luffy. Not by a long shot. Because Luffy has the Haki that he has, and Loki can no way compare to Luffy if he just throws out Bajrangan, or if he literally starts using his advanced Conqueror's coding. There's nothing he could do, because I don't think Loki can do that, because he couldn't even clash with Ragnir.
Well, this is Loki from 14 years ago, or whatever many years ago.
Even then. And it points out even further why what I'm saying is true, because Shanks beat him. And Shanks isn't heavier than Ragnir. Shanks isn't physically more gifted than Loki is. Shanks doesn't have a devil fruit that gives him boosted strength or boosted abilities. Shanks is just Haki based. That's it.
Hold on. One, we don't know what happens between Loki and Shanks, technically. Even if you believe that, do you believe that the Luffy we see now would have defeated the Shanks that took Loki down? Because I don't know how yeah.
I don't know. But what I say, is it possible? Absolutely. Because Shanks wasn't a Yonko yet.
Technically, he had Yonko strength because he became Yonko at that age. So the time difference from here to when Loki fights Shanks is 8 years, doing the math. So 8 years later is when Shanks and Loki fight.
That boy 8 years stronger than this, man. That's all I'm saying.
And also, too, Gaban says that Harold's using Conqueror's Haki.
Again,
he
so
that.
was
that.
Rox.
So was Rox. He addressed that. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean they're utilizing it.
Yeah, like we don't see any Conqueror's Haki coming from like Harold when he's attacking anybody. Like there's no leakage.
Harold is essentially a punching bag right now that could just regenerate. And Haki is leaking out of him. That's it. But you can't tell me in a fair fight that like if he's not using the moves that we know he has, then he's not beating Loki's not beating him straight up.
I have a secondary question for you.